Hey guys, welcome back. This is the House of Timmerman podcast. I'm Kate. This is my husband Dennis, and we are back this week with a new video. Today we're going to be talking about gratitude and power. Now, you might be wondering, how are those two things connected? Well, we're going to tell you.
Tell me more.
First, let's touch on gratitude. This is kind of a spin-off of the last few episodes that we've been doing. I think the one prior was Get Curious, and then the one before that was what?
They'll be seeing that.
Oh. So we've got Get Curious, and then the one before that kind of was an intro to all of this, where we talked about weeding our garden. Now, if you haven't watched those, I do recommend going back and checking those out, because that's going to give you a little bit of an insight of where this may be going. So we're going to touch on gratitude to start. Gratitude has this funny way of just kind of shifting your perspective or shifting the energy and your emotions internally. And what I mean by that is when you can sit there and express gratitude for a thing, a situation, you're going to notice this change internally that's going to be a little uplifting, or it's going to feel like kind of a weight is off of your shoulders. Something that I practice is I say a few things that I'm grateful for every morning. That one's a little hard during the week when you're having a difficult time waking up. But to just kind of offset that or counterbalance that, I also say it at night. And this isn't anything I write down or say out loud, but it's just a few seconds that I just spend there and thank and express gratitude for that day, or kind of set the mood for the day that I want to have.
The next day.
Yeah. Or the day when I'm waking up.
Okay, I gotcha.
Yeah.
Yep.
And, it's something super simple, super minor, and you wouldn't expect a huge outcome from it. But I think it's kind of...
Where were we? Simple small little acts of gratitude.
It's not something that you would think would have a big impact on your day, but it just kind of sets the tone of either that morning or that night that you're going to have, and prepares you. But it also shifts that internal feeling. So where you might be feeling a little stressed, or I don't want to say ungrateful, but just you're not tapped into that.
You're complacent, maybe kind of.
Unaware, I guess, is maybe kind of where I'm kind of coming from that.
Yeah.
For example, this house that we have here now,
The House of Timmerman?
The House of Timmerman.
Oh.
We worked, there was a lot of internal work that we had to go through to get this house. Not just, the money thing, because we all kind of have these... I don't know where this is going to go. We all kind of have these agreements internal, where you might feel like some things are more difficult than the others, or we have these agreements where we make things a little bit more complicated than it needs to be. And I feel like we kind of went through that with actually buying our first house. Mm-hmm. We were renting for 5 years. And we were ready to get a house. We were ready to get a house the day we moved into the apartment. But finding the ability to overcome our money agreements, to find the right place, to just making the paperwork and everything happen, I felt like we it was hard to begin with, but we ended up making it easy by moving it through and processing all the internal work. You wouldn't think that was a lot of internal work, when you say buying a house, but there's a lot of stories and agreements that you kind of have to come over. And
a lot of I can't, or I don't.
Yeah.
I don't deserve that, or I'm not worthy of that, or.
Those are all set agreements that we have in our head, or in our virtual reality, and we'll kind of get into that a little bit more here. But the point that I was trying to make is this house, now that we have it, I make sure that I say I'm so grateful for this house every single morning and every single night. And, you wouldn't think it's anything that special, but it's our first house, and just having it, getting to the point where we could have it just was a really big thing for us. And I'm just very grateful to be here.
And now it opened up this. Like, wow.
We have this ability to now have a place that we can film in. We have this awesome place. While small, it's ours, and the energy here is way better and way cleaner. And you can have a clean energy. It just feels like ours, and it kind of felt like that since the beginning and just getting here. So that's, I guess, an example of what I say I'm grateful for every day.
Yep.
Just kind of to explain the power part of it is, what are you giving your power to, in a sense? So kind of going back to that whirlwind of a story that took the long way around, where we mentioned, you have to overcome these agreements that you have already in your head, or this virtual reality that you're living in. That's kind of, in a sense, what you've given possibly your power to. It's those, I'm unworthy for this, or I'm not worthy enough for this, or, I can't do this. Those I can't statements, while overlooked and seem very minor, are really huge, because you're actually, when you break that down, you're actually telling yourself that you're unable to do something. Like, we can bring it to the gym. Like our youngest, she says, I can't run. But actually she can. Or not our youngest, our oldest. She'll say, I can't run. And so really, physically, yes, you can run. You have the ability to run. You have legs.
She's just created the story of, I can't run.
Yes. Like she doesn't feel like she can do it well enough. And so where you're saying, I can't, you're telling yourself that you can't do something. And that's literally taking away the ability to try. You're limiting yourself. And so you're creating this virtual reality that you're now living in, this story that you can't do this thing. Or another example would be, we're kind of coming into the winter season. And so we might think that if it's poor weather outside, it's not, it's not 70 and sunny, you might feel like the weather is
gonna bum you out. It's gonna like be a drag. It's gonna be like a bummer, and you're gonna have a bad day. You're gonna be depressed because it's cloudy outside. It's not sunny and warm and birds singing.
It's an inconvenience.
Right. That's the story. That's the agreement that you're making with yourself already, basically. So when you pre-program that into your brain, pretty much, you're thinking like, oh, if it's not nice tomorrow, I'm going to be bummed out. That's going to be the result. You just set yourself up for having a shitty day because you made that agreement with yourself that if this happens, then this is going to be my mood, my attitude, rather than I'm in control of my mood. It doesn't matter if the weather's nice, if it's like cold, cloudy, whatever. I'm going to be in a good mood. I'm going to choose to be in a good mood. I'm not going to let the weather dictate my attitude. I'm not going to give the weather the power to do that.
Yes. And I think that, so to kind of bring a connection to the gratitude and the power aspect, is not to overcomplicate this belief or this thought. I guess some takeaways for you would be, when you're in the middle of that thought, you're in the middle of that emotion or that feeling or that opinion that just isn't fitting right, get curious, like getting back to the get curious and question, what is this serving me right now? So I'm saying, I can't do this thing because of this. You're giving your power away to this limiting belief, when really, if you just stop and think about it, can you do this thing? Do you actually have the ability to? You're kind of stepping away and taking a look and actually realizing that you're telling yourself a lie.
And try to catch yourself in that moment, like as it's happening. Get right after it. Don't, you know, there's going to be, it's a practice that you're going to get better at. So there's going to be times where you'll look back and like, a couple minutes ago, maybe you reacted to something in a way you didn't want to react. It might be something that you see, in the past, but as you get better at monitoring that and kind of paying attention to it, you'll catch it right away, right when you react. It's all about that, like reaction. Like, how are you going to react to this thing that happens?
And, let's say you do catch it. You don't want to then just sit there and like punish yourself in a way. You don't want to sit there and be like, oh, well, I shouldn't have said that. Really, you just want to say, oh, that's interesting. I had a limiting belief, or I was making a story and this isn't going to serve me, so let's move on. You don't really want to like punish yourself because then you're just kind of getting back in that trap.
Into that negative self-talk.
Exactly. You want to move past it and just say, oh, well, that's interesting. And that's something that I do every day, every single time it happens. I think I've mentioned it in the previous video, like if you're not practicing every single day, it's very easy to slip back into previous bad habits. Mm-hmm. So it is something that while it does get easier along the way, it's something that you have to continue to practice. And so it's something that I still do to this day, like, oh, well, that's interesting. That's a funny thought. And you just kind of get curious about it and question really where is it that you want to go. And I feel like that's kind of where it all ties in, this really the foundation, or it's really the simple, I don't know, 1, 2, 3 step, but it's all about expressing gratitude for what you do have. It's catching yourself in the act of, where is this thing, where is this thought, this belief, this limiting factor, where is this stopping me? Where am I catching myself? And then it's getting curious to kind of really understand the story behind it. I feel like that's the starting block, and that's really the foundation, and it's not to overcomplicate it. If there's ever a time where it feels overwhelming, my biggest suggestion is to just sit there in silence and start with gratitude. Take it from the gratitude, like, wait, something's off here. Let's sit here and think about this. What's happening right now that I'm thankful for? And then go from there. And you're going to start seeing those dots connect. You're going to start seeing the story unravel. And that's really where the foundation is going to be set. And just not to overcomplicate that process. I feel like this is kind of setting us up for a continuation of these types of videos where we get to dive deep and have these real raw conversations with you. If that is something that interests you and you enjoy watching us in all of our weird and awkward glory, I recommend that
Speak for yourself.
I know. Well, I would just recommend liking this video, liking our videos, leave us comments. We get back right to you. And hit subscribe
to this channel right here. Make sure you click on that little bell so you get notified when we do post our videos. Yeah. It makes a big difference. We really would appreciate if you guys would click on all them like buttons, subscribe.
We film every Saturday and we get the video up by usually the weekend, Monday.
The goal is to get it up Saturday night or Sunday morning. But if you click that bell, then you will know exactly when we do.
Yes. We love your guys' feedback. It inspires us. It motivates us so that we can bring content that you guys are interested in that also speaks to us as well. So
I think it's really cool. We should mention, too, we've had some people reach out that have been expressing their gratitude for what we're doing. And damn, that feels awesome.
It does.
Like we're already, it's kind of our goal is to help you guys. So if we're doing that already, then that's amazing.
We're helping you, or we're helping ourselves as well.
It's a big circle right here. Yeah. So, thank you guys very much for reaching out. We really appreciate that. We wanna hear more, please.
Yes. And then just to kind of touch on those takeaways again. sit with the gratitude, sit with the story that you're telling yourself in that virtual reality, and then also get curious, ask those questions, kind of dive into those, and you're gonna, it might be difficult at first, but it's really going to get easier the more you do it, the more you practice. And it could be the simplest and easy thing. You can make it as easy as you want. Don't try to make it complicated, because that's what we do as human beings.
I really like to do it right before sleep at night. I think that's the best way, because that kind of shuts all your mind off of all the stuff, the stresses of the day, that gets you in that right mindset of, okay, I'm just at peace with what I have, because I'm grateful for so much. And it only doesn't take any extra energy. It only takes a couple minutes is all it takes.
Yeah.
I think that's the best start. That's what I would recommend.
And then when you are telling your story, try to catch that as soon as possible. And then don't punish yourself. Just, say that's interesting and move on. Because the faster you can move on, the faster you can make an actual reality. You can change that reality in that moment and come up with the truth rather than a lie that you're going to tell yourself.
I like it.
That's what I got to share.
All right. Thank you guys very much for watching. Go check out Instagram, House of Timmerman Podcast, at House of Timmerman, at Dennis.Timmerman. Check us out at Primal Sioux Falls. Thank you guys for listening. We're going to see you again next week.
Bye.
What?
Applesauce.
You're okay?
It's okay.
I don't want to get in the carpet now.
You'll be fine.
We'll be all right.
Okay. Hello, guys. Let me get back to the thing.
Okay, bye.
Peace out.
Peace out.
That's the outro right there.